Hello and welcome once again to another episode of This Assembly. This is episode number 27, and to celebrate that, we're going to jump right into it and pick up where we left off on episode 26, and that'll be at verse 8 of chapter 15 in Bere'Shiyth. So first, let me start by thanking the Father for giving us this beautiful day and allowing us to assemble here and hear His word taught in a untraditional fashion and giving Him all the praise. Verse 8, and he said, Adonai Yahuah, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? Avraham is getting anointed, at least he is to me. However, he wisely put it all on Yahuah. He placed no responsibility on himself. It was solely up to Yahuah to make these things happen. Avraham was practically bribing him, but Yahuah was up to the task, and he would give him an answer. What I find funny is that Yahuah was just noted for counting Avram's belief as righteousness. Now here, Avraham is questioning his every motive as though he neither believe nor trust him, seeking incentives to do as he is commanded. However, at the same time, he's also showing a great deal of faith by putting it all on Yahuah and saying, okay, I don't have a part in this, it's all on you. What are you going to give me for doing it? So he's putting everything on Yahuah. So it can work both ways. He's unfaithful, he's faithful. You know, I'm assuming Yahuah took it as all faith, and he gave him a response. Verse 9, and he said unto him, take me a heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. That is, Yahuah said to Abram, hey, go get these animals and bring them to me. Okay? Now, just as mentioned before, Yahuah also gave some interesting commands to Noah. And he told Noah, hey, I'm going to kill everybody, but I want you to build a boat. And I want you to build it like this, this particular way, because I'm going to kill everybody. And, oh, by the way, you and your family, you're going to be inside this boat, and you're going to be in charge of all the animals that I want to be in there with you. So, when I flood the planet with all this water, you guys will survive. And you're going to have 7 days to do all these things I tell you. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you too. Well, he didn't say that, but, I don't know if that was even implied. But nonetheless, like I said before, I'm going to repeat this all the way through Revelation. Noah only had 7 days to build the ark and do all the things that Yahuah commanded him. All right. Now that little excursion is out the way, let's go back and get back to Abraham. All right, verse 10. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. Here's a trend not to miss. It seems as though everything seems to end and or begin with sacrifices. Many times, animals end up being killed to resolve or uphold some sort of debt. After Adam and Yahuah were disobedient, animals were sacrificed so that they would have clothing that Yahuah found suitable. When man became wicked and abominable in the world, most every man and animal were sort of sacrificed, while one family, one household, and a few animals, or should I say a few thousand animals, would be allowed to live on. Now, yet again, animals are being sacrificed. This time, they are being sacrificed as proof of Yahuah's trustworthiness. Verse 11 and 12. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. Sounds like he was in a bad dream, right? Well, it's more than that. Let's keep on. Verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. This is like the worst prank ever. First, Abram spends time gathering up animals. Then he spends more time butchering them, cutting them in two. Afterwards, he laid them out. Now, he would have been a bloody mess. I'm sure he cleaned himself up at some point. He probably cleaned himself up right after, probably right after he cleaned up. He comes back to find that birds had come to feed on the carcasses of the bloody animals he had laid out. So he chased them away. Now I'm sure you was wondering how the files or why the files came down if he was out there. Him cleaning himself up would account for, the birds' boldness to go down and, try to eat this sacrifice that he laid out for the Father. All right, so that's a reasonable explanation for that. It doesn't say, but that's a reasonable explanation. So Abram chased the birds away. And now that they had the scent of the meat, they probably kept coming back, keeping him busy the entire time. Or maybe they were just being birds and stayed away and hoped he went away. Now this could have been tiring work, so tiring in fact that when the sun went down, he fell asleep. Now the fun begins. Yahuah caused a horrifying darkness to come on him in his sleep. This would have been the worst nightmare ever. And as he slept and dreamt in terror, a voice in the darkness speaks to him. Abram has yet to have a child, but he was promised one. This voice tells him that his seed, the son he has yet to see, and the offspring he will produce will have no land of their own. Now, Punked has nothing on Yahuah. All right, Yahuah had just promised all the land he had just showed him as an inheritance. But this voice is saying that his seed will have no land. Even worse, they will be unknown, foreigners even, in a land that is not theirs. They will be interlopers, trespassers, vagabonds in someone else's lands, and will be forced laborers. This voice is saying these things to him as he had this nightmare in this horrifying darkness. It continues with the bad news. Like I said, Punked has nothing on Yahuah. Ashton Kutcher, eat your heart out. Now, his seed will have bad things placed upon them in this land that is not theirs. They will be beaten, starved, raped, murdered, tortured, in any manner of affliction for 400 years. Not 40 days, not 40 weeks, 40 months, 40 years. Now, if you are familiar with Scripture, you will know that in verse 1 and later in the scripts, he was reminding people over and over not to fear. This was not one of those times, to say the least. Perhaps this was him having a sense of humor, dark humor. The irony of his seed and no lands and the coming captivity. One thing is for sure, after this, his people will fear him something terrible. In fact, you will see that their fear will cause them to do some strange things. That's coming up. Well, that's actually now. And for those of you thinking that the Father does not have a sense of humor, remember Bere'Shiyth, chapter 1, verse 27. He created us in his image and likeness. He is not a Vulcan, a robot, or an android, or an automaton. He is a kind of man and has feelings and emotions that he expresses regularly in his own way. Verse 14. And also that nation, whom they shall serve, will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. During the horror of this nightmare, Yahuah gives a prophecy. And while the prophecy says that the nation whom his seed will serve, he will judge, Abraham's seed will leave there wealthy. As terrified as Abraham must be in this dream, I wonder how much of this actually got through that he understood it. Curiously, Yahuah is speaking in the first person here. So we know that he is telling us these events of this dream. Thusly, that beckons the questions as to who is telling much of the other historical facts in this Torah and speaking in the third person. Verse 15. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. Yahuah gives Abram a bit of comfort. He tells him that upon his death, he will go peacefully to his fathers. It should be said that his fathers worshipped other Elohim, perhaps never even knew Yahuah. They also had traditions and lifestyles not conducive to Yahuah's way. So, upon their death, where did they go that Abram, who is now counted as righteous in the eyes of Yahuah and is now learning the benefit of obedience to him, will meet them again? It would seem that what we think we know death and where you go, when you go there, and how long you stay there needs some revision. Abram's family line goes back to Shem. They were not all counted as righteous in the eyes of Yahuah, at least not that we have been told. So, how is Abram going to go to be with them? Yahuah also said that his old age would be good. Is that applicable to everyone, or was it exclusive to those Yahuah said it to? If it was broad, why are so many scared to grow old if in fact old age is good? It makes sense seeing how he did not make a bad day. All right. So every day as you get older is good because he didn't make a bad day. Verse 16, in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Emorym is not yet full. Yahuah is taking Abram on a ride. After terrifying horribly, he gives him a bit of comfort. Now he seems to be taking it right back with more bad news in the form of another prophecy. He sounds like he's saying that his seed will come back to the land of the Canaanim because of the Emorym had not strayed far enough away from him yet for him to judge them. He could be implying that the return of Abram's seed will prompt the Emorym to do evil upon them, which in turn would prompt Yahuah to judge them. All right, interesting verse, a little confusing, but it was said, so let's try to get from it what we can. Verse 17, even though we don't know who the Emorym is. Verse 17, and it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. Now, while Abram slept in a horrifying darkness in his mind, it was now dark in the land, and some sort of smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed through the carcasses he had cut in half and laid out. In the custom of cutting covenants during this period, practice dictated that someone or something passed through between the bodies of the slain animal sacrifices. This journey through the middle of this blood and death solidified the covenant in that the only way out was by the death and blood of one side of the agreement. In this case, two strange things passed through the bodies. I wonder if one represented Yahuah and one represented Abram. Either way, Yahuah ensured that the covenant customs were fulfilled and the covenant was properly set in place. Meaning that if either party violated the covenant, particularly Yahuah, that party must die, his blood must be shed. And we're going to shed this episode and we're going to pick it up again in episode number 28. Until then, this is your servant of Yahuah Soyah saying thank you for joining us and enjoy this good day. I'll see you next time.